All right, our roundtable discussion continues now. We've got a new topic. America, a nation divided. According to a Gallup survey in 2020, nearly 85% of Americans believe the news media is the cause for our partisan divided country. But nearly identical percentages say the media could do, quote, a great deal to heal those divisions. And in a NewsNation exclusive, cable news veteran Chris Cuomo announced on Dan Abrams this week that he's joining NewsNation to make a difference.
I want to help. I want to find a way to help people. I'm going to come to NewsNation, and I want to build something special here. Work with Dan, work with the team here. They've got great people who are really hungry to make a difference in ways that I think matter. I had decided that I can't go back to what people see as the big game. I don't think I can make a difference there. I think we need insurgent media. I think we need outlets that aren't fringe and just trying to fill their pockets. Don't listen to anybody else. Only listen to me. Don't trust that when you hear it. I'm going to do the job. I'm going to go where the news is, and I'm going to try very hard to be fair.
All right, so we want to ask our panel, is media to blame for the big political divide right now? John, I want to start with you. Obviously, all of us on this panel are in some way part of the media here. So, John, what do you think?
Well, I think it's also important to remember that in many ways we're not as divided as we're told. The overwhelming majority of Americans support abortion rights, support decriminalizing weed, support progressive taxation of the wealthy. Most of us support letting Medicare negotiate for lower drug prices and having Medicare cover vision and hearing and dental. Most of us support paid family leave, like all of our capitalist allies. So the media does play a certain role in amplifying the divisions, but the media is not why we hate each other. It's because of the haters. Journalists aren't there to divide us, and we shouldn't confuse journalists with the media. The job of journalists, of course, is to seek the truth. The job of media is to get the ratings, to get the clicks, to get the eyeballs. So if the conflict does generate ratings, the media will cover conflict. But if anything, the culprit here is getting rid of the fairness doctrine back in the 1980s, which allowed us to have this golden age of niche news where we go to get the news we want that makes us feel good because we want affirmation, not information.
Well, that's a good point, and I do want to get later to that clarification there between journalist and media. Tracy, I saw you nodding as John was talking.
Yeah, I think that one of the problems that we have is that there's this concept called truth, or this concept called justice or neutrality. Those are just myths. Those are cultural myths. And the fact is that implicit bias plays a huge role in how we view things and how we present things. And what I would love to see happen is for people to acknowledge that and then to do things to mitigate that so that we are able to present information in a way that allows people to not frame it the way that they want to frame it. We are only looking at one half of the picture most of the time, and we need to be seeing the full picture. So people need to be more media literate.
Well, I think John brought up a good point, though, because, people now are able to go and get the information that they want, that they agree with. And, if a person so chooses, they may never hear an opposing side. So really, but is the person to blame for that, or is it these organizations that only give one side? Ari, what do you think? I think we may have, Ari, I think you may need to unmute there, buddy.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
I think that the media certainly is exacerbating the problem, but to say that it's to blame is just preposterous. Any type of division that's occurring in modern day politics is the direct result of politicians. And I actually agree that some of the divide that we're seeing is not as profound as people would like it to believe. I think people now are just a little bit more argumentative for whatever reason. Maybe they've had a little bit too much time sitting at home and are looking to get back in their offices. But this is certainly not to blame the media by any stretch of the imagination. Can be pushed a little bit more towards neutrality, possibly. But I think this is the job of our politicians to begin starting to walk across party lines and start coming up with solutions instead of arguments.
Well, I think, okay, so Are you saying that it's preposterous to say that the news media is to blame? But again, this Gallup poll was done in 2020. 85%, nearly 85% of Americans specifically blame the news media. So I think for us to say that is preposterous, maybe we want to think that. Again, we are part of the media. But I mean, if the average American thinks that, if nearly 85% are saying the news media is to blame, we can't ignore that. Aaron?
You can't ignore it, but I think that there are a couple of things that need to be remembered here. One, the media is much more echo chamber focused now than it ever has been before. You do see niche media where you can go and hear exactly the propaganda that you want to hear on any certain topic. And to the journalist point on this, journalists do have inherent bias, and that is an issue because I work with journalists every day. I spend my career doing it on Capitol Hill, and they don't even admit that they have a bias. And that shows in their reporting. It shows in the way that they ask questions. It shows in the way that they ultimately cover an entire story, where you can work for days on a story with a reporter, and that at the very end, they'll toss your quote in and you'll think, why did I just spend all that time and all this effort to give you the background, the context, access to whoever the politician or individual is relative to the story, for you to continue with your version of what happened in this situation, whatever it might be. Politicians should tamp down the overly heated political rhetoric. It does not help in the divide. But again, when you get echo chamber media everywhere, it makes it easier to continue to hear what you want to hear. And that gets ratings, it gets clicks, it gets ads sold, and it gets more eyes on things. And ultimately, that's what everybody wants. NewsNation isn't bringing Chris Cuomo on because they're hoping to just give him a bunch of money. They're hoping for more eyes. And that's the whole point of this game at this point. Media is much more focused on the dollar than it is on the news, than the news part of the news media.
But don't you think, I mean, just to be devil's advocate there, Aaron, don't you think, I mean, at some point, you need people that Americans are familiar with. But if their goal is to be unbiased, is to bring people the news, it's certainly not going to hurt if it's somebody that's well known. I mean, is that true?
Oh, absolutely. Name recognition is a fantastic asset to have. You see politicians all across the country be able to run on a high level of name recognition. It's an important thing. But the unbiased part is what the American people will need to see. That can't just be said and then believed, right? Trust needs to be earned, and media needs to earn the trust back. It's why you see more and more Americans going to their local news or other news sources for what they're getting now, instead of the larger networks and the legacy media that they've, their family or their fathers or their parents would have used before as their sources.
But even those local media stations are owned by bigger conglomerates, and they are in fact as biased as the bigger conglomerates are.
Absolutely.
All right, so I want to talk.
Tracy, we're best friends today. Who would have thought?
What was that, John?
The media is as liberal as the companies that own it. And I know everyone's biased, every clergy member, every teacher, every one of us has our own biases. As long as the media is biased towards speaking truth to power, as long as to some degree they're biased towards calling out BS, then their political leanings are what they are. That's how it's always been. Right. But the media will always, it's not really the media, it's ratings-driven news. And that is what makes the conflict such a magnet for so many people. A bunch of people agreeing with each other, well, that might be positive and good for the heart. It's not terribly sexy for the ratings. So it feeds itself, and the media really is a mirror that all of us look into and see what we want to see.
Well, and I think this, everything, all of you have touched on the fact that we're biased, right? We all have our inherent biases as human beings. We cannot escape that. So is it a matter of acknowledging that in order to try as best as you can to then deliver that unbiased news?
Absolutely. You can't market yourself as being not biased. You have bias. You need to own it. And then what you need to do is mitigate for it. Make sure people are aware of what that is so that they can not treat they're being told as being truth or fact, and understand that it's being read through a lens.
Yes.
Yeah, putting the facts first, especially in reporting. I mean, even your day-to-day stories on what's going on Capitol Hill, even those stories when it talks about how a vote went, the up and down, what Republican, what Democrat, even those have bias lenses on them that people aren't seeing. So the education of the American people is going to be critical here. But reporters even just admitting that they would do that, the way they frame questions, I mean, it really sometimes feels like a gotcha, when in their mind, they think they're asking something that's very straightforward without the understanding of their bias.
Yeah, Aaron, that's a very, very good point right there. We're going to end on that. We're going to continue on this topic right after the break. We do have to earn some of that money we talked about. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.